Writings on the Wall is a series that's gone on for more than 25 years now. I would say beginning 1999 in earnest. Now, those of you who've been reading, watching for some time, you are all familiar with the concept, but we always have new readers, new watchers. So every once in a while, it's important that I also explain the concept to you. I will do that. Also to remind you that what I'm doing right now is to give you the video version of the writings on the wall I have written in the past on Bihar, on poll-bound Bihar. So earlier I gave you two from the two elections held in 2005. The first one, which was infructuous because nobody could get a majority, and second, which brought Nitish Kumar into power, and he's been in power since then. From that now, we are now coming to 2010. That was the election where Nitish Kumar went to seek a re-election on the basis of his performance in his 5 years. He is now going to the polls over his performance of nearly 20 years. And that I'll be talking about. I'll be traveling in Bihar maybe next week. After that, I will give you an episode of Writings on the Wall on these elections. However, this one particularly is about 2010 when Nitish had gone out to seek votes based on his performance of 5 years. How do I explain Writings on the Wall to our new readers, new watchers? I have learned over the years that if you really want to know what's going on in our country, what is changing and how, who's in or who's out, how we are feeling about ourselves at any moment, and what ideas are being embraced or junked, then hit the road and keep your eye on the walls as you drive past the countryside. What you see written on the walls usually gives you a better idea of what's going on than any survey, opinion poll, or talking head would. Because in our countryside, in rural India in particular, now increasingly urbanizing India, the walls are the most popular and democratic mass medium and the best mirror of the current state of economics. And so, given how prosperous or backward a region is, you can find writings on the wall selling just about anything, ranging from the latest cars and immigration to Canada, Kanada in Punjab, as used to be the case, to fertilizers and tractors in coastal Andhra, to little more than snuff. Remember? Naswar, snuff, or anti-itch creams to the poorest districts of the East Central Tribal India. In Bihar, you would often have seen nothing, as I said in those two earlier episodes from 2005. You would often have seen almost nothing because people either had no surplus to buy anything but basic food, and because there were no pakka walls, though I had reported from my travels in those two episodes in 2005 the sighting of the first such writings selling what else but private education, mostly English medium schools and coaching centers for engineering and medical college admissions. We had noted then that Nitish Kumar's message, it is time to fill your pen with ink, as against Lalu's, it's time again to season your lathis in oil. अपनी लाठी समय आ गया है, अपनी लाठी को तेल पिलाएं. Nitish was saying, no, that will not work. Now fill your pens with ink. That seemed to reflect better the changing mood in Bihar, from caste empowerment to aspiration for education and a better life. With his emphatic victory in 2005, Nitish proved again that writings on the wall do not lie. As result poll in this Wednesday morning, I had written then, of course he won that election, I had said he will prove that fact to us again by winning a second, probably bigger mandate. That's exactly what happened. He won a second and a bigger mandate. Particularly as none of the challengers has been able to either match his promise of development or challenge his track record. This election, quite frankly, I said in 2010, this election, quite frankly, looks like a done deal more than any other in recent memory, except probably the Rajiv Gandhi landslide of 1984. But what you now see on the walls of Bihar, meanwhile, tells an intriguing and fascinating news story. Remember, I'm taking you back to around this time of the year in 2010. You drive 2,500 kilometers through Bihar's political heartland, generally southeast from Patna, crisscrossing the Ganga through Begusarai, Bhagalpur, Banka, and right up to the border of Jharkhand, and you find color on the once mostly blank walls of Bihar as you had never imagined. I call the message intriguing because all that the walls of Bihar now seem to be selling you is branded underwear. Rupa, Lux Cozy, Dollar, Amul Macho, all the top Desi underwear brands are there, selling the comfort, good looks and feel, and of course, sex appeal of their products from walls, hoardings, and signboards, hanging from electricity poles and trees. All the naughty taglines that you might remember from TV ads that were banned for being in bad taste are in evidence here on the walls of Bihar, 2010, including one under a brief, the telltale bulge saying "Andar fit, Bahar hit." Obviously on the ball, Rupa, probably our number one underwear company, has even produced a new brand, John Obama. That's when Obama was president. Now, naughtiness apart, do we read a message of socio-economic change on Bihar's walls? And if so, can politics be immune from it? This was a state with widespread starvation and utter misery, and where a large majority had nothing left to buy anything beyond basic clothing to cover their bodies. Somebody is now trying to sell comfort, good looks, even sex appeal of branded underwear here. Does that mean something has changed? Never underestimate the ability of the Indian FMCG marketer to sniff out a new emerging market or consumer need, which is exactly what the underwear boys have done in Bihar. If a state of 8 crore people is being lifted from utter poverty to at least a level at which many can aspire to a better quality of life than mere survival, you would expect tens of millions to invest in basic comfort like decent knit underclothing. Socioeconomic change inevitably finds political expression, and if it reflects in the results this Wednesday, 2010, this Wednesday, you could say that it was the first time in the history of democracy when branded underwear predicted an election better and earlier than any psephologists. A Kacha Banyan theory of political change. Can we get more facetious than that? You might say, or if you'd prefer something more staid or old-fashioned, let's look at plastic chappals and bicycles. One of the things that caught your attention and made you feel so humble when you traveled in a Bihar election in the past was a large number of people who came to campaign rallies in bare feet. At 5 election rallies this time, addressed by Sonia, Rahul, Nitish, Advani and Lalu, the whole lot, at Begusarai, Bacheria, Cheria Bariapur, Munger and Tarapur, respectively. Some of us stooped really low to make a quick count of bare feet. Kitne log nange pav aaye? How many people have come to a rally with bare feet? I found only 4 pairs in Sonia's rally, which is bigger than any you have seen for the Congress in Bihar in decades. One old woman said she broke one chappal on the way. 2 young girls said their mothers told them to leave chappals at home or they might get lost in the crowd. And one said she didn't have any. In Nitish's rally, there were a few more, maybe about 5%. It used to be like 60-80% in the past, until 2005. And it was evidently a much poorer crowd for Nitish from the more deprived and backward sections and castes, and much more involved also in what he was saying. Here we go then. So few bare feet in the most backward regions of Bihar should convince you of the change, if the underwear on the wall doesn't. Bihar is in the midst of a virtuous transition, enjoying a sweet turn it had even stopped dreaming of. And it shows on its proudest and even politically the most significant new asset, its beautifully tarred new roads. Not just the highways, but even the rural roads built under the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Like many other chief ministers, Nitish saw road building as the easiest picking in a state that, to any serious leader, would look like an orchard of low-hanging fruit. And Lalu has to blame himself if Nitish's success with road building devastates him in this election, as it did. Lalu it was who made the state of roads into a telling political metaphor in Bihar. He first dismissed them as luxury for the rich with the cars, Then he promised to build roads as chikna, as smooth as Hema Malini ke gaal, Hema Malini's cheeks. But he's just wasted his time and his state's money till his people decided to check out an alternative in Nitish. And now a vast majority of them think they made the right choice in 2005. There are moments in my life when I so love my job. Usually, these are totally selfish, self-centered moments of very petty journalistic conquest, like a scoop in the paper or publication, an interview with somebody I may have adored, or just the hack's privilege of being in a newsy place. Assam in the year of Nelly and other tragedies, 1983, Amritsar Operation Blue Star, 1984, and in Delhi's great killings of the Sikhs later the same year, the Tiananmen Square massacre, 1989, the former Soviet bloc or its unraveling in 1990, the Al Rashid Hotel in Baghdad during the bombings of the first Gulf War in 1991, Kabul as the Mujahideen won the first and quote-unquote good jihad against Najibullah in 1992-93, and so on. But these were all moments of great sadness and tragedy, and only a heartless reporter would look back at them with any feeling of accomplishment, if not joy. So come on a drive with me to Bihar and I will show you a sight to cherish. One to light up your eyes, cheer your saddest, darkest hour, put a bounce in your step, and most of all, convince you once again that there is hope even for the worst governed, the most neglected parts of our country. It is the young girls, dozens and scores of them, often in school uniforms, riding bicycles on the state's new roads. Don't miss the link between the roads, bicycles, uniforms, and the results this coming Wednesday. That was the day of the results in 2010. And Nitish swept that election. Nitish decided to attack the problem of low enrollment and large dropout rates for his state's girls in schools by offering a free bicycle to any girl moving to class 9. 4 lakh bicycles have been distributed so far, and you already see a revolution of sorts on the wheels. Meanwhile, his high school enrollment for women has tripled. Now we move to another part of Bihar. Until the very untimely death of her husband, Digvijay Singh of the JDU, Putul Kumari Singh was just a traditional Thakur wife. But there was also an inevitability to her being pitchforked into politics as her husband's successor. And now she is contesting as an independent in the Lok Sabha by-election at Banka, which she tells you has been ranked the third most backward district in India. And you can see some evidence of that as you drive so gratefully into the abandoned cinema hall, now converted into some kind of an election office. Gratefully, why do I say gratefully? Because she has offered to feed us all lunch, a luxury in a countryside where dhaba entrepreneurship has not yet caught up with the new highways. She went to Delhi's Hansraj College, says she knows nothing about politics, and could she rather answer our questions in Hindi. But as conversation picks up, you figure she has no problem with either the English language or Bihar's politics. She's in it, she says, only because of Dada, as her husband was popularly known. And it is widespread affection for him, despite his feudal origins in parts where zamindari still reigns, that makes her contest a cakewalk. She talks about what her late husband did for the poor, but also graciously acknowledges Nitish's wisdom. People talk of only the roads, she says, but you have to go deep into the villages to see the value of small bridges and culverts he has built, her late husband, all over a state that becomes an archipelago every monsoon. In the past, people had no way of taking a sick person or a woman in labor to a hospital in the monsoon. Now that is changing and people are happy. Chatting with her and her supporters, many of them incorrigible Lohiites and JNU alumni like their Dada, you think about the irony of Digvijay and now his Rani Sahiba defying feudalism with their stone poor voters. Digvijay left Banka, that was young Digvijay. Digvijay left Banka early to study at JNU, where socialism is the default syllabus, or at least used to be. He ended up Lohiite and a minister. He was chosen to be minister in waiting for Musharraf when he came for the Agra summit and would regale you with accounts of their conversations. One that sticks to my memory, driving past central Delhi's 30 January mark, Musharraf asked him, why did it have such an unusual name? Because Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated here on this date, 30th January, in that building. Digvijay said, pointing to Birla House. Oh, and how was Gandhi killed? Was he stabbed or shot? Musharraf asked. A president of Pakistan, one who rose to be its chief of staff through the finest training colleges, the staff college, the finest military training colleges, the staff college in Pakistan, NDC, National Defense College, etc., does not even know simple facts about the subcontinent's history. And here, a feudal from India's third most backward district reached JNU to become a socialist and is the democratic link between Bharat and India. That should teach us a little humility and gratitude the next time we begin to badmouth our politics. His followers, that is Digvijay's followers, working with Putul. This is not the Digvijay of Madhya Pradesh. I am repeating it again for the sake of what internet calls disambiguation. This Digvijay Singh's followers working with Putul now are still wedded to the original ideology. Nitish, they say, has done so well so far, but will fall in the long run. Why? Because his model of fighting poverty is that of Dr. Manmohan Singh, they say, because they are socialists. With growth and investment. और बिहार में बड़े भाई ये नहीं चलेगा, growth and investment. You soon get a chance to put that to the writings on the wall test. At Sangrampur, a picturesque, winding 40-odd kilometer drive from Banka, at a halwai shop called Gupta Hotel, where flies in millions endorse the quality of mithai, I conduct a quick census of how many of the 29 people hanging around there, rickshaw pullers and casual laborers lounging on the rickshaws while they wait for work, have cell phones. Can you guess the number? All 29 of them. This is 2010. All 29 at a halwai shop like that in the third most backward district, in one of the most backward villages of the third most backward districts of India. All 29 had mobile phones. Now, all of them are very, very poor people. All of them could do with better nourishment, but starving they are not. In fact, at that point, the povertarian count of Indians below poverty line was those living on less than 20 rupees a day. And that count was 83.6 crores. They did not conform to that. In fact, if you see this purely anecdotal score of 29 out of 29 in such a poor region, the telecom industry's figure of 75 crore phones looks totally real, 2010. So, where are the 80% Indians living on less than rupees 20 a day? That was the below poverty line figure then. The wisdom thrown up by the cell phone census is affirmed later as we stop at an Indian Oil petrol pump near the Barauni refinery that has a well-stocked grocery store which even sells oodles of branded ice cream. I stand in the queue to pay behind 4 customers who do not look like they would come to buy ice creams, and they haven't. Each one, a local laborer or a casual worker, has come to buy recharge for his mobile phone prepaid card. Banka is very poor for sure. Parts of the district, particularly those bordering Jharkhand, we are told, are Naxal infested. We drive all the way up to the bazaar of Katoria, the heart of a scheduled caste constituency, a reserved constituency, and ask if anybody had seen a Maoist. And many villages on the way back, notably Bihar, allegedly deeper in Naxal zone, some of us got desperate enough to conduct almost a straw poll. Have you seen a Maoist? Maoists you want to see? We've heard there are some in tribal villages. That's the answer we got. But just the landscape on the way back compensates you for not seeing any Naxals. As the road winds through dried watercourses and degraded forest, you see the most stunning sunset in a sky that is a million shades of crimson. Over a shallow but sprawling reservoir created by a British-built dam, this water gives this district its only privilege, which is irrigation, which in turn gives it the only thing it is proud of, its wonderfully fragrant Katrani rice. A small grain, sweet cousin of the Basmati family. I brought home some and it is delicious. Somebody at Katoria says they want to apply for a GI certification. Dreams of GI certification in Banka, one of India's poorest districts, where if you follow the NAC povertarian definition, 100% should be living at less than 10 rupees a day. You have to admit, even Bharat is changing. We now move to another part of Bihar. Most Indian cities, as we know, are now in a state of deep rot with garbage spilling into streets, stray cattle, encroachments, and killer smoke from gensets. But as you would expect, Bhagalpur could be one of the worst, despite the Ganga in such a vast expanse, with the tourist bounty of dolphins and the riches traditionally generated by its tussar silk weavers. Two generations of Indians identify this unfortunate town with the blindings of petty but chronic criminals by its police, originally exposed by the Indian Express in 1980. But you see change in Bhagalpur too. There are a couple of mini malls and showrooms, and right in front of our hotel, in a street packed with pavement shopkeepers by day and herds of amorous cows and the biggest bulls, maybe Mumbai's brokers should hire them, the biggest bulls by night. You see a brand new shop selling equities. In 2010 in Bhagalpur, equities, mutual funds, derivatives, fixed deposits, commodities. You also know you are not far from Jharkhand when you see Dhoni smiling down at you from every other hoarding. Seems he can convince people here to buy anything. I counted at least 6 apartments, cement, sarya, that's iron rods, suiting, satellite TV, and inevitably mobile phones. Dhoni's rising stock, meanwhile, is only matched by the fall from grace of the Bihari superstar Lalu. At his meeting in Munger, his jokes, including the familiar Lalu Alu ones, draw a groan. We've heard that before. He does draw a crowd, but there is no electricity. Bijli nahi hai crowd mein. As in much of the state, he ran into ground for 18 years. Bijli nahi hai. As his helicopter departs, Muhammad Anwar Hussain, a young Urdu teacher in a college nearby Ghazipur, walks along with me and asks if we are from media. Amazing how no one says journalist or patrakar anymore, they all say media. Lalu कहते हैं, he says, I'm quoting him, Lalu कहते हैं, हम खाएंगे भात आलू, आपको खाएगा मोटा भालू. He, 3-time Lalu voter, says, disdain spilling out from his really awful rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme, the poetry doesn't work, but you can see disdain spilling out of it. And then I ask him, but aren't you afraid of the BJP as a Muslim? Why? We have been fine for 5 years under Nitish, he said. And look at this Sher ka bacha. He has kept Modi out of Bihar. Has anybody ever been able to keep Modi out of an entire election campaign in Bihar? Not all Muslims would vote for Nitish, for sure. But he may have done just enough to rock the M in Lalu's winning MY formula. Lalu, of course, would not agree, but the usual bluster is gone. Sarkar to jod tod ke hamari hi banegi. He taps me on the arm and whispers, almost apologetically, after he has fed us a sizable high tea. Indian politicians' minds actually are quite easy to read when they are in trouble. For example, when a leader starts discussing his strategic errors in the middle of a campaign, you know he thinks his time is up. Lalu says his big mistake was insisting on the imposition of President's rule after Nitish failed to secure a vote of confidence in the first inconclusive election of 2005. Then he would imply Bhutta Singh as governor messed up everything. If only I had listened to Sonia ji, Lalu says. She pleaded so many times with me not to insist on President's rule. That means let Nitish come and set up some kind of a government. But I did not listen. But then he tells you what he is missing. The comforting embrace of the Congress party. A share of power at the center. Sonia ji, हम आपसे कहते हैं, is very good, noble gentleman lady. Quote unquote, I'm quoting Lalu. Sonia ji, हम आपसे कहते हैं, is very good, noble gentleman lady. हमने उनकी नहीं सुनी. Of course, his other regret is alienating the upper castes. I was never against them. I only talk. Lalu is like a two-headed snake. He only hisses, but he cannot bite. This Lalu himself is saying. And then he promises that the next time he comes to power, he will go out of his way to make up to upper castes. When that will happen, who knows? But one thing you can say for sure, Lalu himself will be the most surprised if it were to happen this time. One look at his face and you know he has read the writing on the wall. And while he misses the Congress, you wonder if the feeling will be mutual. Sonia and Rahul both draw much better crowds than you have seen at Congress rallies in the past in Bihar, but it is difficult to see these translating into votes, as their message of Nitish's ineptitude and corruption or hypocrisy and communalism does not yet wash. At Sonia's really large rally of Begusarai, a group of schoolboys in uniform snigger as they mimic her delivery of the word Chintajanak with one vowel compressed and the other stretched. But her rapidly improving Hindi diction is not the problem. The problem could, in fact, be the kind of talent Rahul's hunt has thrown up. At least in Bihar, his newly elected Youth Congress chief Lalan Kumar was caught that very morning in an EC raid, Election Commission raid, with nearly rupees 6 lakh in cash, and was now a most disastrous crowd warmer until Sonia arrived. Look at Nitish's Raj, he said, where milk has dried up in all of Bihar's mothers' breasts, but ministers are feeding milk to their dogs in Patna. Now, you may love or hate dogs, but if this is the kind of genius Rahul's talent hunt is finding, you might be better off even with the idiots of the past. The man smiling through all this is the one you rarely ever see smiling or frowning or displaying any emotion at all. But Nitish Kumar thinks he has got it in the bag. We tell him, Lalu tells us even JDU MPs are not campaigning for him. Our party, he says, smirking for once, has the most remarkable MPs. And goes on to repeat what Lalu just told us, that one has taken a ticket from Lalu or his wife, the other for his brother. But that's Nitish talking about his own MPs. But he's understatedly nonchalant. He gets chirpy only when talking of his bicycle scheme and underlines the fact that he did not let his government buy these but gave rupees 2,000 to each student to buy one, thereby making it a direct cash transfer. His biggest challenge now is electricity in his state. By the way, do you know how much electricity Bihar consumes? I'm taking you back to the winter of 2010. How much electricity did Bihar consume then? Just 900 megawatts. That is less than what our suburb of Gurgaon burns. This is 2010. And how much power does Bihar produce? Just about 150 megawatts. On a flight to Mumbai last week, BJP President Nitin Gadkari, on his way back from Bihar, tells me how embarrassed he is to realize that his own company's power generation is more than that of the entire state of Bihar. Nitish also has complaints about the centre. He respects the Prime Minister, he says, and finds sometimes a meeting with him is like a UPSC interview. The Prime Minister sounds like he means well, but Bihar is squeezed in every possible way, including coal linkages. But he has the air of somebody. Nitish has the air of somebody who does not worry about very much right now, or for that matter, about his BJP allies. At a very generous dinner of ghee-soaked Bihari litti at the home of the BJP's very familiar and friendly spokesperson, Ravi Shankar Prasad, he arrives and sits quietly, unobtrusively. Almost on cue, BJP's ever-sulking State President C.P. Thakur tiptoes out without a hi or bye to Nitish. The only BJP man Nitish has time for is Deputy Chief Minister Sushil Kumar Modi. He unfortunately passed away subsequently. And for his national ally, the BJP, it is good enough that the two get along. It knows, the BJP knows the value of this alliance, and that is the reason they have indulged Nitish in a way you would never expect the Congress to indulge a regional ally. They have agreed to keep Narendra Modi out of the campaign. Would the Congress ever agree to keep a Gandhi out of a state campaign just to please a regional ally? However important, it will never happen. Now you know why the Congress's second hope that even if Nitish wins a big one here, he might be a prospective ally for the future is premature. And to this episode, there is also a postscript. I must conclude my notes from the road, as usual, with something interesting and colorful I spotted on a wall. This time it was Kids Convent. Kids Convent, KIDS, Kids Convent at Roopsu on NH31. And you would hope these kids would learn to spell somehow, because Kids Convent doesn't have an apostrophe. And of course, a liquor shop near Barauni named Pyasa Sawan, the thirsty monsoon. Now, doesn't that sound like fun? I could put a postscript to postscript because this was 2010. Subsequently, Nitish imposed a full prohibition and all the legal liquor business in shops disappeared, it all went underground.